All right, I think for the people on the Zoom, there's about 15 or 20 on the Zoom, and we probably have 35 people here. Welcome. Let's see, I'm Mike Hightower. Was a past director, and we're going to just change. We're going to hand things off here in just a few minutes. But so we've got the way we set this up: a day long, half a day today, half a day tomorrow. And we do have Pays in from Seattle to talk. And so before we get started, let me just mention that when I started about 5 years ago, I was told Patricia that I would try to do this for 5 years, and that it's now 6 years, and that 6 years is up. So it's time for me to transition. I'm not being fired. I'm volunteering to leave on my own accord. And so whatever you say is, don't tell Zach that he's the new Mike Hightower. That's not a good deal. That's inappropriate. The mold was at the Trinity site. They took the mold for Mike Hightower and blew it to hell. So anyway, I do want to introduce Zach Stoll, the new Associate Director for the consortium. Zach, come on up.
Jeez. It's, yeah, Mike, I agree. You cannot be replaced, and those are some really big shoes to fill, figuratively and literally. So I had to adjust the mic here. So hello, everyone. Good afternoon. Great seeing so many faces and a few new ones to me. I'm very excited and honored to have been given or been hired into this capacity and to serve as the new Assistant Director for the New Mexico Research Produced Water Consortium. And so many thanks to our consortium members. NMED is our partner, NMSU, and of course, Pay, Mike, Patricia, Courtney, and everyone else on the team. So thank you for this. And while there's going to be a lot of things that are new, and we're going to hear about those over the next couple of days, there's a lot that's going to be familiar. And so even with Mike kind of stepping out and doing this transition, the consortium is not going to change. The research is still going to be the research. The people are still going to be the people. And so I'm kind of stepping into this to help increase efficiency and increase our outputs. So I guess all that to say, I've had a lot of fun working with everyone in the past, and I'm going to continue having a bunch of fun working with everyone going into the future. So thank you very much.
So Zach and I kind of talked about this, and I'm going to be kind of the MC for the next day and a half or so, for the next, yeah. And then from here on out, Zach's going to be the MC from here on out. And I still am going to have some roles to play in the consortium, but it's going to be for specific working groups, not leading things. So I've had a great time. It's been enjoyable working with Pay and the people in New Mexico State. If you look at the work that people are quoting and referencing from other consortiums, it's the New Mexico Produced Water Research Consortium work that's kind of led the way over the last 4 or 5 years. So I'm very happy about that, and I'm not leaving, I'm kind of transitioning, and it's going to be in great hands as we move forward. So what I wanted to do, I always try to do this when we have these reviews, is to let people see where we said we were going to be and where we are today. So I actually went back. I'm not going to play any 70s music. I'm not going out that far, but memory lane here. We actually did a research roadmap in early 2020, and right about a week before COVID hit, which put us back a couple of years. But I wanted to show some of the things out of that research roadmap that we published back in 2021. And this is technology testing tasks and schedule. This is directly out of that research roadmap. And it has dates that we would start and dates that we would finish, and types of projects and number of projects that we would have. And if you look at it, you go, darn, we're pretty damn close. We were trying, by 2023, we were hoping that we could have a lot of our pre-treatment and some treatment technologies tested. And by 2024 and 2025, adding 5 to 10 additional treatment projects each year. And that's almost exactly where we have been. So I think based upon the good work by the people at New Mexico State under the research director, which is Pay, we've been able to keep on track with both vendors and industry providing technologies for us to treat and evaluate, and approaches that we could use to evaluate those with our targeted analysis, non-targeted analysis, et cetera. So the consortium has been working as it was designed, which was for the universities, industry, and vendors to be able to come together and have a place to collect high-quality data related to the safe treatment and reuse of produced water. I think we've met all of our goals, and actually in the timeframes that we identified. Our R&D program on sampling risk and toxicology, that was a big thing. We had the charter for us with NMED when we started was to show that we could do this safely for public and ecological and environmental health and safety. So we had to develop testing protocols for things that really hadn't been done before, for non-target analysis, for analysis of constituents in produced water, where we had to look at not NPDS 80 or 90 constituents, but 400 or 500 constituents. How do you do that? How do you then go in and look at non-target analysis for stuff that's not there, the unknowns? How do we do toxicology testing when we're looking at applications where you're looking at ecological systems and human systems? How do we do that correctly? And how do we do it in a way that the data can stand on its own as showing that we can do things safely? So if you look at the things that we identified, working with the US EPA, working with New Mexico Environment Department, working with other agencies to identify what we needed to look for, identifying timeframes that we could get that accomplished, especially when we're looking at the 2021, 2022 timeframe when COVID. How do we get all those guys that are not at work, that are out in the Ethernet, getting together and agreeing on processes and approaches to do the testing? But if you look at where we are, I've got 2025, we're still, the biggest issues are not in doing the testing and analysis. The biggest issues that I see where we're still deficient is on public outreach and public information. I think the last couple of hearings we've had in New Mexico indicate that the general public is not seeing our data, and we're not getting it out to them in a way that they can understand it, because they obviously don't look at our data. We've got to do a better job of that. So I have that in red, and that's something we're going to talk about today, is how do we improve that public information aspect. That's something that we haven't had a chance to do. We focused a lot of our work on the technical side, getting cost and performance data, getting toxicity and safety data, getting that information out. We put it out in peer-reviewed journals, which is good, but peer-reviewed journals generally are not the types of publications that the public can, one, read and understand. That's very technically intense. We've got to do a different approach in getting public information out. So I've got that down as someplace, in areas that we need to be working on. And we've got through 2025 to finish it. So we got 6 more months. And I think we're okay, because we're mid-year with some changes in the way we handle our data portal, the way we handle our website. We can be a resource for the country in produced water treatment and safety information for everyone in the country. And that's, I think, are going to be our goal as we talk about this later on today and tomorrow. And then looking at our R&D and infrastructure development tasks and schedule, there's a couple of things I think that we're behind on. We have not had a chance to put a lot of our information into our GIS system. So as industries want to use data on water quality of produced water, what kind of constituents are in produced water, can minerals be recovered. We haven't been able to put that into a format where people can get access to it. So as we're looking at companies that are beginning to build systems and build treatment projects, we're going to have to improve that. We're a couple of years behind in that. I think for the end of this calendar year, we need to kind of look at how we collect that data and get that into our data portal for people to start using. And then on the yellow, I have that we have some liability issues, I think, with using treated produced water. And those happen to be issues for people that treat the water. We need to look at opportunities to work with communities to reduce those liabilities, to work and develop limited liability opportunities. Economic development benefits of using treated produced water. We need to work more closely with the Economic Development Department in New Mexico to identify what those are, where we're going to be able to use that water for applications, maybe not discharge to the environment, but discharge for uses for hydrogen, data centers, power plants, things like that, that would add economic development opportunities and get the industry sector involved in doing that. So I think that those are the softer sciences, some engineering, the techno-economic analysis that Zach talked about at our end of year in December in Albuquerque. We need to begin to improve those and move toward more implementation-focused opportunities as we move forward. So this is what through 2025, we're going to, in the process of finishing up 2025, 2026, I believe, and beyond, we ought to be looking at how do we work with industry to implement these technologies? How do we improve access for those industries to use this? And how do we improve access for the public to understand what we can do as far as treating produced water to be safe for reuse? So personally, in my 6 years, I think that we've accomplished a lot. And it's not anything I did. It was the staff at New Mexico State, the researchers at New Mexico State, and the industry that helped us out. When I took this job, I was told by the secretary, Mike, you got $7 million. We got $7 million approved by industry. And he said, committed. And I told him, I said, James, commitments aren't really that solid. And he said, no, I'm pretty sure these are solid. And then COVID hit. And those solid commitments kind of diffused. But we had to work for at least 3 years with a couple of companies that really provided us with the basis for moving forward. And I want to call them out. NGL, Chevron, ExxonMobil, and ConocoPhillips were companies that really provided funding. 99% of that went to pay in the research team to do that work. So we also got support from the Groundwater Protection Council to actually give us funding to do our data portal, our produced water data portal, that they did for free for us. So industry stepped up during COVID. We did not have state funding. Some of the industry people that had suggested that they would participate did not. And so we relied on a whole lot of support from those 4 or 5 companies. A lot of people volunteered their time. I did pay and volunteered a lot of time on her part to pull this off. So this was a great effort over the course of essentially 2.5 years during COVID that everybody pulled together, and we were able to do things that people said we couldn't do. But if you look at the program plan that we had, the research plan, I think we were able to meet almost every goal that we set. So I think that's quite an accomplishment, and I need to think we ought to give the people at New Mexico State a big hand for being able to do that. So that's a summary. I generally do that by year, and I thought that since I'm kind of walking out, that I ought to just cover the whole 6-year process that we did. We've done a lot, we've accomplished a lot, and I think we're at this point where we're collecting the data, the amount of data that we need. John Roderick told me 4 years ago, I need 10 data points. Well, we're well beyond 10 data points now. We're at a point where we should be able to make some decisions. And now we need to move into the, out of the R&D side, which is what I have up here, into the implementation and engineering side where we can actually put this water to use for the state of New Mexico. So with that, let me introduce Pei and let her give her opinion of how we've done and where we're going as we move forward. So thanks, Pei.
Great. Thank you, Mike. Mike, thank you so much for the overview and the summary of the work that we did in the past 5 to 6 years. My name is Pei Xu. I'm a research director of New Mexico Produced Water Research Consortium. It is really an honor to serve in this role. First is I work with Mike on the day-to-day basis. Basically, we call each other and then we work very closely to each other. Basically, Mike set up the foundation to the success of this consortium. So I just want to give Mike another applaud of, thank you. Mike really did great work, and Mike is a great leader and great mentor. He is also down to the earth. Just last week, when we went to the Permian Basin for sample collecting, Mike drove all the way to the Midland to collect all the water back to New Mexico State University. So thank you, Mike, for all the work, for your leadership you have been doing. So I'm really happy that Mike is happy about the progress that we have accomplished. So in addition to Mike's overview, and I want to give you more updates and highlights of our research. First is disclaimer. You have to tolerate with me to go through this. The reason is we do research, and then you may say, right now there is no surface water discharge permits. So why do you study all these science and technologies? The reason is at consortium, we are doing the independent, unbiased research, and we work on the technology, innovations, and the science, and we are not promoting or opposing any very specific beneficial use of produced water practices. So with that being said, our goal is to provide clear, reliable information that supports informed decision-making around the safe and the responsible use of produced water in New Mexico and beyond. So in these conferences, because we have media review, we also have the annual review meetings, and you always hear a lot of research results, our findings from the researchers at NMSU. And these research results can be very fresh. It may come from last week. And then the reason you may say, oh, that's very dangerous. Are you doing the QE/QC rigorously? Well, of course, we meet weekly. We go through all these results, but still these results are very fresh. And it may subject to change because when we go through more QA/QCs, and then it may change. With that being said, these are preliminary results that are not published yet, and they may change. So please do not distribute all these results without asking us. So if you have any questions, please let us know. So those are the disclaimers, and so I go through this so my colleagues will save their time to go, to present the technical components. Not everybody is familiar with consortium because I see new faces, we have new members, so I want to go through this quickly. The consortium was established under the House Bill 546. That was in 2019. We had the kickoff meeting in 2020, right before the COVID hit us. And it was created by New Mexico Environment Department and hosted at New Mexico State University under a MOU. Our mission is to address the key scientific and technical challenges in produced water treatment and reuse, and then to provide the data for science-based policies and regulations. And then the integrated research, education, and outreach activities are very important part of the consortium. Consortium is a private-public partnership. It involves all the federal agencies, state agencies, industry members, NGOs, and academia, also including the national labs. The produced water treatment and reuse is very important for the state of New Mexico, because New Mexico is the second largest oil producer in the United States and is the top producer of the natural gas. And during the oil and gas extraction, we generate large volumes of produced water. About 1.9 billion barrels per year of produced water is generated. That is about 5.4 million barrels per day, and 220 MGD. For municipal, we use MGD. How much water that is? It's about twice of El Paso's daily water use. So that is a very large amount of water. And this water is mostly generated in the Permian Basin. It is here next to Texas, and about 2% is from the San Juan Basin. San Juan Basin has lower TDS, and the Permian Basin has mostly unconventional, has very high TDS, over 100 grams per liter, 170 grams per liter. So this water contains formation water, fossil water, injection water during the hydraulic fracturing, and also chemical additives. So the goal of the consortium is to treat and reuse this water outside of oil and gas field to reduce environmental impacts, mitigate the induced seismicity, and provide alternative water for economic development and to support the state. So the consortium is a research consortium. This is the first produced water consortium in the United States. Our goal is to bring out the innovations and then to support the water policy and support the implementation of the produced water treatment and reuse. Through the presentations, you will hear later about that we are working on the pre-treatment of the produced water and the different types of desalination technologies and post-treatment to generate the water quality that is good for fit for purpose applications, agriculture, irrigation, land application, maybe surface water discharge to augment the water supplies, and also industrial uses. So to make sure this water is safe for reuse, then we have this very comprehensive water quality characterization framework, toxicity study, and risk analysis, including targeted and non-targeted analysis, and the whole effluent toxicity test on the fish, human cell lines, and the mice. You see, they're very cute. But they drink treated produced water. Then the fate and transport model that my colleagues is going to talk about, and also we conduct a risk assessment of produced water through the land application and surface water discharge. For the consortium, Mike mentioned that we have different working groups. So right now we have 5 working groups, including the risk toxicology, evaluate the environmental and health risks, data management, and Mike talked about it, and infrastructure and the treatment. In session 1, session 2, you're going to hear about the desalination technologies, how to implement it. And education and outreach is very, very critical. And that is a major goal for our research as well. So Zachary is going to take the lead on that. And also Mike is coordinating the multi-state coordination with Colorado, Texas, California, Wyoming, and many other states. Right now, I want to give you some highlights of our research. Basically, those are meat, but the real meat will be tomorrow. So for the produced water, how do we make sure it is safe? What are the constituents in the produced water? And we work with the NMSU researchers and our industrial partners. So we collect the water samples through the treatment train or a specific unit process to measure what are the constituents in that water. So we developed NPDS class list that has been widely adapted by the users, industry, and also different consortiums. We analyzed over 450 constituents in produced water and through the treatment trains. We also use the best available analytical methods for targeted analysis, non-targeted analysis to understand the constituents, the removal efficiency in the produced water. And I'm going to talk about the water samples. We collected the water samples from the San Juan Basin and also the Permian Basin. So this is the list. Mike mentioned NMED gave us the target goal. They needed the data of 10 sets of produced water samples. It's a set of produced water samples, means go through the treatment trains. This is where we are today. In 2021, we started treating the San Juan Basin produced water through the collaboration with Canales. And we used the brackish water RO, reverse osmosis, seawater RO to treat that water. And we have already completed all the targeted analysis, toxicity study based on the distillate, the RO permeate past the toxicity study that Dr. Yin Zhang is taking the lead there. And we have a manuscript in review. So I will talk about the manuscript. This is another reason because NMED asked us, all our results will be published through the peer-reviewed journals. And after the publication, the papers will be on the consortium website. So Courtney and Zach, right now, they are working on updating our website. If you cannot find certain papers, you just contact me, send me email, I will send you that paper. And from now on, the paper published by the consortium, we will pay the subscription fee and everybody will have the free open access to those papers. So that is for the Canales project. And all the other projects will start focusing on the Permian Basin because it generates 98% of the produced water. And the Permian Basin is the most prolific basin in the United States. So in the fall 2021, we worked with the crystal clear water resources, and it is a thermal based desalination technologies. We completed all the targeted and non-targeted analysis, the toxicity study. So the two manuscripts have been published, and Dr. Zhang and her PhD student Mauricio had did a lot of work on those. And then later, last year, we worked with Circle Verde. It is another mechanical vapor compression desalination technology. And we completed all the targeted and toxicity study and non-targeted analysis. So the paper is in preparation. And then later last year, we did the collaboration with CCR and Devon on their phase 2 study. So we collected all the water samples, analysis completed, and then the manuscripts are in preparation. We also have very close collaboration with Texas Pacific Water Resources, the team of Adrian Lopez, and they are very open to share their data. So we basically went there to collect the water samples, the soil samples, the plant samples. We did all the targeted analysis, non-targeted analysis, and then right now, Susita is a postdoc. She is working on the non-targeted analysis of plants and soil samples. And we have 3 manuscripts in preparation. Some are completed. And probably we will get 4 manuscripts out of this study. So that is thermal, freeze, desal, and membrane-based technologies with greenhouse and field agriculture irrigation experiments. And Bechtel also did the pilot testing in the Permian Basin using the thermal distillation technology. And we collaborate with Texas Produced Water Consortium. Mostly Texas Consortium has the data. And also NGL was very, very helpful. And they also provided their data using the membrane processes. And they also have an ag demonstration project. I think they have the manuscript under preparation. But we also have their data with targeted analysis. We also collaborate with another project using the membrane processes to treat the Permian Basin produced water. We completed all the targeted and non-targeted analysis. And just recently, we collaborate again with Texas Produced Water Consortium and then collected the water samples from another thermal process. and that research is ongoing. So right now we completed 8 to 9 pilot testing, data collection, and data analysis. So as Mike said, we are achieving our goal right now. Okay, so after we collect all the water samples, and in addition to targeted and non-targeted analysis, we also did the toxicity studies. And here, Dr. Zhang and Dr. Xu and another, Ashley, I don't know if he's here. So tomorrow, they will talk about the research results of the toxicity. So for the treated produced water, we use the aquatic organism, human cell lines, and we are going to do plants experiments and soil and mice. So that research is ongoing. And then we plan to do the greenhouse experiments using the treated produced water for the germination and irrigation experiments of native plants and also crops. So we'll start the greenhouse experiments very soon. And Dr. Renwei Li and Dr. Huidei Chao, they are also leading the fate and transport experiments, and they are also working on the model simulation to look at how the constituents in the treated produced water will transport in the soil columns. So this will help us to estimate what will be the risks related to the agriculture irrigation and the land application. So for the risk analysis, we have all these analysis, and then if we discharge or reuse the treated produced water to the environment, and then to what will be the impact on the human health. So Dr. Li is taking the lead to look at how the soil risk and the soil screening level related to the public health. And Dr. Xiaochun Yin, she's there, and Dr. Huya Wang, they are also working on looking at if we discharge the treated produced water to the river, and or if we have the spill of the produced water into the river, what will be the risks to the human health? So we use the EPA tools called the Exposure and Fate Assessment Screening Tool, and then using the regional screening levels to look at the risks related to the non-cancer risks and also carcinogenic risks for the adults and also for the children with less than 6 years old. So that research is ongoing during the annual review meeting. I think Dr. Xiaochun Yin can report her research results. All right, so we talk about all these analysis, over 450 constituents, all the non-targeted analysis, tentatively identified compounds, risk analysis. That list is very, very long. Can every project analyze this very long list very frequently? It could be expensive and challenging, time-consuming. Development of surrogate parameters and indicator compounds could be very helpful to manage the produced water treatment projects and on the day-to-day operation. So here, Dr. Zach Heidenbrand, and he did the study in 2022, and then you published the results in 2023. So you used the electrical conductivity and the total organic carbon as surrogates. So we look at the paper. It's a very nice job. Thank you. And so we come up with this tentative list. So we have 2 tiers, in total about 15 analyzed. For tier 1, that means that we can analyze it daily or using the real-time monitoring. It can include the temperature, the pH, electrical conductivity, dissolved oxygen, turbidity, and the total organic carbon. So these lists, it includes, for example, electrical conductivity would be an indicator for total organic carbon and the metals in it, and dissolved oxygen will be important for surface water discharge. Turbidity is an indicator of suspended particles in water, and total organic carbon measures all the organic constituents in that water. So this is our tier 1. Right. Yes, that's a goal. Right. And then for the tier 2, and we can have total dissolved solids because, for example, for drinking water standard. It has the maximum contaminant level in the secondary regulation standard. TDS needs to be less than 500, so we put the TDS here as well as tier 2, and total ammonia. Total ammonia is very important for the Permian Basin because it has very high ammonia concentration. It is good resource we can recover, but it's also toxic to the aquatic life. And it is a fertilizer, but if the concentration is too high, it will be toxic to plants and soil. So total ammonia is another indicator. And the boron. Boron, if we use a membrane-treated process, the boron concentration could be high. Boron is toxic for sensitive plants, so we put boron as another indicator. Sodium chloride hardness, it determines the sodium absorption ratio for agricultural irrigations, we put there as well. Also, sodium chloride, they may relate to the public health, high blood pressure. And we also have the radionuclides in the Permian Basin produced water. So we put gross alpha, gross beta. And related to the volatile and semi-volatile compounds, we use the BTEX and also the PAHs, the polycyclic aromatic hydrocarbons as indicator compounds. So this is our tentative list, and we will be very happy to hear about your comments about those lists. Yes. You mean for the dissolved oxygen, we can have real-time monitoring? Oh, yes, ORP, yeah, we can also have real-time monitoring. Oh, yes, so for that one is, for example, for surface water discharge, we require dissolved oxygen is high enough. And then, for example, for thermal distillation, and because it is higher temperature, so DO could be low. So in that case, if we have surface water discharge, we think we may need to do the aeration to add the oxygen back into it. So, yes, hi, Jason. So right now, these are the analytes, and as I mentioned, this is a tentative list. We look forward to your feedback, comments, and we also will come up with a reference value. Reference value means based on literature, based on the existing permits and the regulations, based on the research results from consortiums data analysis, and then we can come up with the reference value, and then for the regulatory agencies to consider. Any other comments? Yes. Sorry, can you say it louder?
So some of the beneficial reuse project and the desalination pilot were done before. We were hearing that methanol was getting carried over as well. So have you have any thought, or do we need to monitor those or not?
It sounds like. So methanol, it is. I cause too much trouble, sounds like too magnetic. Yeah, so methanol, it is indeed a problem, but it's passed through both thermal process and also membrane process because it's a small polar compound. But we discussed about probably we can resolve methanol. And also if the TOC is very high, and the methanol will contribute significantly to TOC. Okay, thank you for the good comment. So, and I'm coming back. Okay, so we realized that the produced water has a very complex the water chemistry. So a unique, just a specific unit process may not meet all the goals for the water quality requirements. That's why we look at a integrated treatment train from the pre-treatment to desalination to the post-treatment. But in this process, we have a lot of system optimization. Just one example, if we use ozone, right? Ozone can be used as a pre-treatment. It can also be used as a post-treatment. For example, if we have the carryover of methanol and the TOC, could we use the ozone? Or, if we think about another example is the ammonia. Ammonia is a resource we can recover. Should we recover it in the beginning as a pre-treatment, or it will be the post-treatment? So there are a lot of optimization from the water quality control standpoint and also from the TEA analysis standpoint. So that is in progress research that we are doing. And especially right now, we focus on the post-treatment because later, when tomorrow Panhasa presents the targeted analysis, you see that we found a lot of constituents even after the desalination process, but those constituents will be removed through the post-treatment. But the post-treatment is very critical. What treatment process do you use? And can we regenerate those media for example, absorption? So that will be a focus of our research, especially if we want to use it for agriculture and we need to remove ammonia, boron, and others. If we want to use it for industrial application to generate the ultra-pure water, how do we generate the ultra-pure water? It's all the post-treatment related. So that is a research priority for us. And we already mentioned about ammonia in produced water we can recover. There is the lithium, and Dr. Huiyao Wang is working on the lithium recovery from the water. And we're also doing, using the bipolar electrodialysis to split the sodium chloride in the produced water to generate the acid and caustic solutions. So acid can be used for the well treatment, and the sodium hydroxide could be sold as a valuable product. So the resource recovery could be a important component for the produced water reuse, and because we can also offset the treatment cost and then reduce the waste volume for disposal. Right now, using the treated produced water for industrial applications is kind of like easy path. And right now, we are working on using the produced water to generate the hydrogen. One here, you see this box, blue box, is the electrolyzer. So this is a donation from the Plug Power. It can generate about 90 cubic meter of hydrogen per hour. It needs the ultra-pure water. So right now we want to treat the produced water to the ultra-pure water level, and then we can demonstrate that this water could be used for hydrogen production. And also the produced water can be used for the water splitting. Again, Dr. Huiyao Wang is here with his PhD students. They have a patent, and then to use the alternative water, including the produced water for hydrogen production directly. And this Monday, when I say it's really fresh, it is really fresh. So this Monday, we just had another kickoff meeting with a company called Global Impact Ventures. And they received a big grant from the Economic Development Department of New Mexico to use the alternative water, including the produced water, raw produced water, for the hydrogen production using the photocatalytic process. So those are the research ongoing. What is the time now? 10 minutes. Okay, so I need to go through it pretty fast. And those are what is the research ongoing. And I also want to give you some updates on the research priorities for the fiscal year 2026. So the first is we want to continue evaluate the produced water quality and the treatment efficiency, but we will focus on the long-term more stable demonstration, because in the past we just go to collect the water. Right now we want to work with industrial partners to make sure that the system could be operated for a long time and then under stable conditions. And we will also focus on the post-treatment. As I mentioned, we're going to conduct all the toxicity studies, including the aquatic life, human cell lines, and also the long-term toxicity study of the fish over 28 days and the mice over 28 days or over 90 days. And we will also assess the reproductivity of the mice under the impact of the produced water. Then we will continue the fate and transport modeling to look at how the potential contaminants in the treated produced water, including the ammonia, volatile organic compounds, semi-volatile organic compounds in the treated produced water through the column experiments and under the unsaturated flow conditions. We will do the modeling and also including the risk assessment of the produced water using the soil screening tools for irrigation and land application. So tomorrow you will hear about the presentation from Dr. Li and Dr. Chao. And then we will evaluate the impact of treated produced water on agricultural irrigation, and we will do the greenhouse experiments. Right now we have the water that we're going to start the experiments, but we will use the control, to do this. It could be the groundwater from the Permian Basin. Then we will continue the human health and the environmental risk assessment using the EPA tools, the EFAST, and also the regional screening levels. And the risk assessment will use the target cancer risk threshold, about 1 out of 1 million or 1 out of 100,000 people. These are the tools we plan to use. And then we are going to start a new project for this year, is to characterize the chemical additives transformation. Because for the regulatory agency, they always want you to disclose all the chemicals you added in the well development for hydraulic fracturing or the well treatment. So what happened to these chemicals once we added them into the water? First thing is what chemicals added. The second is once you added to the water for the hydraulic fracturing on the higher temperature, on the higher pressure, right? What happened to these chemicals? And we also detected PFAS compounds, even though very, very trace amounts, right? Above that reporting limit or much, much lower than the EPA new drinking water standards. But PFAS should not be in produced water, except maybe dinosaurs, they make those PFAS compounds. So where do they come from, those PFAS compounds? We want to understand it. And also related to the structurally related compounds, we are going to use target analysis and non-target analysis. And hopefully we can find, the sources of those compounds in the produced water. A big goal of the consortium is to support the produced water reuse policies and the regulatory framework by providing the robust scientific data to inform the water policy and the regulations. So we will provide all the data on the produced water quality and the toxicity studies. We will develop the indicator compound surrogate parameters with reference values. And then we are going to estimate the protective maximum contaminant levels for treated produced water for different applications in order to protect the public health and the environment. And then we also want to build the baseline water quality. So in the year 2020, and we collaborated with NGL. We collected the water samples in the Pecos River through the year. And so that's for the Pecos River. And we still do not have a good baseline on the groundwater and also on the tap water. So we plan to collect those water samples and then to build the baseline. And as Mike mentioned, also with Zach's leadership, we want to support the public outreach and education activities. Also, we want to support all the consortium working groups. Okay, with that, thank you so much for your patience. And then I also want to thank you for all your support because, New Mexico Produced Water Research Consortium. And then we have been working very closely to the consortium members, to all our collaborators, including, all the state agencies, federal agencies, Texas Consortium, Colorado Consortium. And because of all of you, because every one of you, and then we'll be able to do this research. So I really want to thank you for all your support. And also, I want to thank NMED for creating the consortium, and also the New Mexico Higher Education Department. See, they just this year very, very generous to support us. And Patricia will announce our funding tomorrow. So also the New Mexico Economic Department, Development Department is supporting us, and the OCD, Office of State Engineers, and Department of Agriculture, Department of Health, everybody support the consortium. So with that, I want to thank you all. And so if you have any questions, feel free to contact me. We have a few minutes, maybe 5 minutes for break, and then we are going to start the session 1. I think it would be nice, to report some of the research results to them to get their feedback. And I also want to mention the support from the US EPA. They participate in all our monthly meetings, and then we have very frequent communications. They just share their new tools with us, so they are very helpful. And also Bureau of Reclamation, they funded some of our research, and especially the Bergendorf Brackish Groundwater National Desalination Research Facility. Okay, desalination research facilities, they host the test bed of the produced water pilot demonstration project. They are very helpful. And also DOE is supporting our research as well. So, I feel we are very fortunate. We have the support from the industry and the federal and the state agencies and from every one of you.
All right, we're going to move into treatment technologies. And a couple of things that we've done, we always do this for companies that work with us and have their technology evaluated. We give them a chance to give a presentation or technologies that we're getting ready to test. We give them a chance to talk about that because we'll set up meetings and opportunities for people within the consortium to go out and look at these technologies, kick the tires, et cetera. And we got some interesting technologies that we're moving forward on this year, later this summer and fall. So I want to give you a chance to meet some of these people and get a chance to see if you might want to go out and see their activities. I wanted to bring up the state coordinating committees that we put together for the different consortia around the country. Pei mentioned that. And we have some representatives from Oklahoma. Mark's back there. I know that some of the people from Texas are on the video. But we coordinate through the US EPA's Water Reuse Action Plan. The New Mexico Consortium was called out in that national water reuse plan to coordinate activities around produced water. So we've made a concerted effort to go out and check with other states, and we meet monthly. So I just wanted to give you an update on where some of these other states are and where we are and what's moving forward in produced water treatment and reuse across the country. I wanted to mention Colorado, Hope Dalton. They have their meeting tomorrow, so she's in Denver with that consortium. But they've adopted regulations for produced water recycling for fracking to save fresh water. They're interested in saving about 25 million gallons a day of fresh water that they can use on what they call the eastern slopes, so which is essentially Denver, Colorado Springs, Fort Collins. So they're in the process of, we talk about implementation strategies. I mentioned that we had an R&D program that kind of went through 2025, and maybe we should start looking at how do we move toward implementation of infrastructure. And Pei talked about some of the additional projects and research that we need to do to allow us to do that. But they're looking at putting in 2 million gallons of water a day treatment systems for the next 10 years. So they're going to add 25 million gallons of projects over the course of the next 10 years. So 2 million gallons a day is essentially 1 million gallon a day treatment systems. They'll have 20 or so systems in place in the next 10 years. Pennsylvania is moving toward capture of CO2 for combination of primacy in their CO2 injection wells, but also the fact that they're going to look at CO2 with their produced water to remove certain types of chemicals for chemical recovery. A lot of people are talking about sequestering carbon in deep saline aquifers, and with the oil and gas industry, we've moved some of those deep saline aquifers are now at the surface, especially after we've treated the water. We have some very concentrated brines that are just perfect for CO2 sequestration. And with some of the things that you get out of CO2 capture in these concentrated brines includes calcium carbonate that you can use for cement. So we're seeing a lot of interest by companies in using CO2 and these saline brines for mineral recovery. Pei mentioned some other types of mineral recovery that others are looking at, lithium, but a lot of the alkalinity in these brines are such that there's opportunities for mineral recovery there. Texas, all their permitting is moving to TCEQ. There's bills in the legislature, and Fred, you can correct me, but I think that that's pretty much underway, that's going to pass, that all the regulations will be with the Texas Environmental Quality, very similar to our NMED. So all of their permitting for land application, surface water applications are going to be there.
Let me show you.
Okay, what's the issue? Me? No, you're good. Okay, can we get that under control? Okay, thank you. Yeah, it sure does.
Everybody's awake now.
Yeah. Okay,
You're saying land application is taken from the railroad?
that is correct, yes. The regulations, I think, have they passed? But they're about ready to pass. Okay, they've been passed. Okay, yes. Let's see. I talked to some of the people in TCEQ last month in our meeting. There's about 40 million gallons a day of permits for surface water discharge to the Pecos River system right now. I don't know how they're going to approve those or when they're going to approve those, but there's several applications for surface water discharge into the Pecos River. And one of the things I think that Pei mentioned, highlighted, that we need better information on what the surface water quality is. I can tell you that the Pecos River has very poor surface water quality. It's probably 10 times higher TDS than we get out of our treated produced waters. So somebody had some really good time at their golf course, didn't they? Or they've been at the bar after their 9-hole or 10-hole or 18 holes finished at noon. But anyway, so there's a lot of interest in surface water discharge, at least in the West. We were seeing that in many places, including Wyoming. And I think mineral recovery shows up here. Many states are looking at mineral recovery. And California, interesting there, they're looking at, we've talked about the opportunities for aquifer storage and recovery with treated produced water, to store that water in aquifers. The issue is, can we maintain a quality that maintains the viability of that aquifer? California now has some draft regulations on how to do that with treated produced water. It's a pretty high quality water coming out of the Central Valley, but it's the quality that they're getting is not that much different than the quality we get in treated produced water in both the Permian Basin and the San Juan Basin. So we need to follow that and see what those regulations, how they move forward, and what they can do. The Central Valley, I don't know if you followed California much, is in dire need of additional water resources, and it's probably the most productive agricultural land in the world. I think 25% of all of the Class 1 agricultural land in the world is in the Central Valley of California. So having water shortages and water issues in the Central Valley of California is a big deal. We just had a new report that came out a couple days ago about the water supply issues in Arizona. So a lot of our vegetables in the wintertime come from Arizona, and the concerns there with water quality and water quantity are big. So food issues are a big issue that we're seeing as a concern. Oklahoma is looking at starting their own consortium and trying to reuse that. Mark can talk to you about that, but they're in the process of looking at adding additional activities, interested in research activities that they could do jointly with other Western states, including New Mexico, Colorado, and Utah. So a couple of things. We have the EPA is supposed to be here to talk. Zach, where's Zach? They're going to be remote. Okay. This is a national activity by the EPA. This is important for us because I've already had them out this past May. They were out for a week going around the Permian Basin looking at projects, but they will revise their wastewater regulations under 40 CFR 435 and 437, which talks about produced water. So it's important for us to be able to support them, provide them with the data that we're collecting. They're interested in coming out and looking at more projects. So as we do projects later on this year, I will be having them come out and meet with us again. So this is a big effort. It's in conjunction. This is getting a little bit ridiculous, guys. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Okay. Yeah. So the interesting thing that I think we need to consider is how we coordinate with the EPA and move that forward. So they'll be talking about that later on this afternoon, right before we break. Also, BLM has contacted me. They're interested in using produced water as upgrades to their 2023 new directions for opportunities with BLM, and environmental remediation, environmental restoration has become a major activity under their new charter. So they're looking for application opportunities to use treated produced water around all the western states. So you can see the states, the basins here that they're interested in looking at. They will be coming out, that were originally going to come out in the fall, the spring. They're going to move that to the fall. So I think there will be directions coming from federal agencies to move forward in looking at produced water. Now, each state's going to have their own regs and their own requirements, but I think we're going to see a national initiative both from the EPA, the BLM, and the USGS. I'll mention that in a second. The USGS is looking at getting support in coming up with a database of produced water quality nationally. They have one now for conventional wells. They do not have one for unconventional wells. So I'm making a pitch for companies, midstreams, oil companies, private producers to help us work with the USGS to collect data. All they need is data. They'll do the analysis and look for minerals of interest that they've been looking at from a USGS minerals perspective. So if there's anybody out here that could help us work with the USGS and collect data so we can kind of provide information into our database and their database on what kind of minerals might be appropriate, where they would be, maybe what kinds of concentrations, I think that that's going to be important for them. So they're reaching out to us to help them coordinate with maybe some of the western states, and we'll do that through our coordinating committee. I wanted to mention real quickly, this is kind of an overview of where we what we do this year as far as testing. Anything in yellow is our projects that we've actually have started or in some cases completed. Canales up in the San Juan, it has a full-scale operation going for greenhouses. Right now this is a non-discharge, of course, in a greenhouse, but they're just using fresh water, but in the process of looking at their produced water. They've done studies for the last couple of years on that in greenhouses at New Mexico State to show that they can do that. But that project is moving forward. They'll have a presentation in December, but that's a full-scale project. It's large scale. We've talked to Tetra. SolMem is in operations right now at Bergendorf looking at the membrane distillation. Let's see, Metaflow, we provided water to them to look at ED, electrodialysis, with a new process that they have. Strongbox is here. Tony's here. He's going to talk about his technology. We've had a tour today to show with some direct contact distillation what they can do. Let's see. Oxy, we just collected water from an Oxy demonstration a couple of days ago, day before yesterday. I've been put 1,000 miles, almost 2,000 miles on my truck in the last 3 days. So whatever I can do to help Yan Yan out, I always do that. So, so we're collecting additional data on, that's a thermal treatment process. It's a multi-effects distillation. We have Undeserts here, Hills here. He was funded by Economic Development Department in New Mexico to actually do a system, and that's under construction. They'll be doing that this summer. Sun Vapor is here. They were funded by New Mexico Economic Development to do a project on treated produced water at a large scale. They're working with NGL, and I think Phil is going to, or the Sun Vapor guys are going to talk today too. So Aquafortis is here to talk. We have a project that's going with them. We'll probably be testing their water here in another month or so. Bad Water is on here. Raj is here. We're scheduled this summer to fall to work with them. So Plug Power, I already talked about Plug Power is working with Zach. We have a lot of technologies that we're trying to work with to collect this kind of data. Again, John Roderick mentioned we need 10 data points. We're about 10 now. We're going to have probably 20 by the end of this year. That's important. We're developing a database on thermal treatment technologies, membrane treatment technologies, chemical treatment technologies to try and provide some idea on the range of water quality that we're getting. I will say that on our thermal technologies, I think Zach and I have been talking about it yesterday. We have about 7 different technologies we've tested. All of them are in the less than 500 parts per million TDS range so far. They need polishing, but we're at very high qualities. And you compare 500 TDS to Pecos River water of 2,500 to 3,000 TDS. We're getting some very high quality water that's significantly better than some of the surface waters that we have to deal with, significantly better than many of the groundwaters that we see in the Permian Basin in southeast New Mexico and West Texas, which are running 1,500 TDS for a lot of the groundwaters. So that's a kind of an overview of what we're doing and what we'll be presenting in December. We'll probably have results on probably 10 different technologies in December to go with the ones that we've already done. So this has been a big year for us. The last 6 to 10 months has been very productive for us. We're seeing a lot of interest by companies getting technologies to a maturity that we can do testing on. I wanted to mention the strategic water supply. Dan? Okay.
Real quick question before we get on that slide. Are there technical review committees put together and working groups?
So here's the deal. We originally had some technical review committees. We're trying to work with the companies to do cost assessments. And that has been, they don't want to let us look at their cost data. But we are working with them to get technical committees to look at the data on the water quality. So that's through Pei and Yan Yan, and we'll be presenting that and give people a chance to look at that as far as committees.
What's important to get the data, people talking the data out. There were a few reports that were generated and are posted on the website that, went through the process. But you had working groups generate, form.
We did.
NDAs in place.
Right, I understand. And part of the deal is now that we're trying to wait until we get through some of the peer-reviewed results back, it ends up being 2 to 3 year time frame, which is a problem. So let's talk about that and how we could streamline that to make sure that people in the consortium that want to look at that technology have a chance to look at it with Pei and Yan Yan before we have go through the whole peer review process and get stuck into that. So we'll do that. Okay. Sure, now it's fine. Go ahead.
You mentioned about the educational efforts and the outreach, and I've contributed to those, going to the East New Mexico state fair, walking by and talking to people. It's great. The quality of the science you guys are doing here is exceptional. It's world class. And you guys publish in good journals, a lot of the elsewhere journals. I assume that's because you want to just get the data out there as quickly as possible. But have you guys thought of maybe going after higher profile journals that will require much longer for peer review, but they get a lot more eyeballs in terms of press coverage?
We need to probably talk about that tomorrow if we can, Zach, because I think that's a good point. Part of the things we've been trying to do is trade off, what do we get to NMED, what do we get to the public, how do we trade that off? If it's 5 years to go to the Journal of Science or Nature, yeah. And I've had some articles in Nature, and I tell you what, that is not an easy thing to do.
Most people, I mean, you would avoid those because you run
Sure.
I've seen some of the recent publications that the quality of science is exceptional, and no one's talking about it.
Right. I think we'll have to work with NMED and NMSU and to do that, because it's that balancing between getting it out to the public and getting it out into the public quickly versus getting it out maybe a little bit later, but it's more impact if we wait a little bit later, yeah.
Build on what Dan was saying there, like you have an external review component, does that happen before, or does it happen after it's been published?
We ought to talk about that. Let's bring it up tomorrow and come up with some ideas. Okay. Those are good points. Strategic water supply, it had to produce water. It passed, but with only brackish water, but I think we need to follow that very closely, because we will be starting a development of technologies to support the strategic water supply that are brackish. And anything that we can do and work with these companies to get these technologies implemented, I think is going to have some benefit to us on how maybe we accelerate produced water treatment technologies on some of these produced waters that are brackish at the same time. So that's all. Concentrate management is going to be a big issue. And one of the things that we might be able to do in the Permian Basin, if we're doing brackish water, is to work with that concentrate to use it inside oil and gas for fracking and other things. So it really reduces the cost down the road for a lot of the brackish water. So I think there's some industry synergies that we ought to be able to do. Brian, you had a question?
Real quickly, is with the use of brackish water, are states looking at all basically replacing the fresh water usage with the solely the brackish water reuse in that process? You know, within oil and gas, instead of using fresh water, use brackish, send your brackish water and use that and leave the fresh water for irrigation and
There's, if you look at New Mexico, we don't use a lot of fresh water. Matter of fact, it's kind of outlawed in New Mexico. So we're seeing almost all the water that's being used is brackish water. Texas is behind us, but I think they're moving in that direction also. This is just an example of, I wanted to mention the two companies I already did, Undesert and Sun Vapor are going to talk, but these are funded from the New Mexico Economic Development Department. It does suggest that we're moving into application and engineering and implementation. So we're at a point where we need to look at transitioning into what do we need to support the implementation projects. We may not be there fully. Water Quality Control Commission hearings, I really don't want to talk about this much. I'm very disappointed in this, and we'll just stop here. It's not anything, it's just that I don't have much to say. You guys have probably followed that. I understand there may be some other hearings that are coming up. And so there's going to be changes as we move forward. But right now, we're still in a position where we're no discharge, and we have to live with that for now. And we still can do additional work and research. And if we take our information that we do have and can get it in a point where we can demonstrate it to the public in a way that they can understand it, I think we're going to help ourselves out to show them that we can do this safely. And I'm not sure that we were able to do that last year at those hearings. We might have been prevented from doing that, and it didn't help us out. I think if we don't do anything, we're going to be in the same boat. I think we need to do some things differently, and we need to work to get our website to a point where we can go to it and show the Water Quality Control Commission what we have and what the results are. So that's my 2 cents on Water Quality Control Commission. So we now have Zach. Let's go ahead and get people to give a few minutes on their technology update real quickly, so that you can see that this is not vaporware. This is not small bench scale things. We're working with industry is really taking on a yeoman's role in building some pieces of equipment that are really working at large scale. And I think it's always encouraging to see that these are at scales that really are commercially available. So Thanks a lot. Any questions while Zach's getting this loaded up? Dan, you have some suggestions on maybe when we can talk about putting these review committees together again? We get them done? Okay, okay. Yes, correct. Good point, good point. Okay.